Hello, this is Father David here on day 16 of the Nativity fast, the feast of the first called apostle Andrew. This is a day where the meditation that we're given comes once again from Father Thomas Hopko's book, The Winter Pascha. And it has to do, this excerpt does, with St. Andrew, the one who went to his own brother, St. Peter, and said, we found the one that the prophets and the law spoke about, the Messiah. He was skeptical, and St. Andrew only answered him with the words, "Come and see." And it's with those words that Father Thomas begins here in our excerpt for today. He invites us, he says to us, as Andrew did to Peter, "Come and see. You will witness the mystery of Christ's birth from the Virgin, his manifestation at the Jordan in his baptism by John, his victory over the devil in the desert, his proclamation of good news to the poor, his announcement of liberty to the oppressed, his declaration of the acceptable year of the Lord's grace. You will see what many prophets and righteous men longed to see and did not see it, and to hear and did not hear it." And in there he's quoting St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13, verse 17. And then Father Thomas concludes and says, "And ultimately, you will see the Son of God himself being lifted upon the cross in order to give his broken body as food for his people, and his shed blood as their drink, that their hunger and thirst for peace and joy and righteousness, and indeed for life itself, might forever be satisfied." So this is what we are called to do in the excerpt in the Winter Pascha. We are being called to come and see Christ. Where? Well, we might be tempted to see him in church. And of course, indeed, in those places, in those services, you will see his body and blood offered for us, given to us. His words declared in a theophanic sacramental moment where we are meant to hear him and encounter him and love him and see everything that he had done for those people with whom he lived and what he wants to do for us now. Of course, we can come and see this, but we can come and see him as well. This isn't an either-or situation. Orthodoxy is very often both and. It is both within the church and everywhere else. We see him when we go to our icon corners, deny ourselves that extra bit of sleep in the morning, maybe we go before the cup of coffee, and we see him there. Maybe it's the person on the side of the road that's begging, and you've got that $5 burning a hole in your wallet that you can just hand over to him. You see Christ, as St. John Chrysostom said, in the face of the poor. Maybe it's in a situation that you are not all that grateful for, and perhaps you're actually desperately sad about. It isn't a time for you to deny that those things are going on. It isn't a time for you to put on a happy face and pretend that everything is okay, if indeed things are deeply and desperately wrong or bad. But it is a time for you to come and see Christ in that moment. It isn't that you are supposed to call something that is troublesome and causing you anxiety and anguish. You're not simply supposed to ignore it and say, "Well, it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine." But you are to come and see where Christ is present and working for you in that moment. Come and see it. When I was in Miami, I drove past a mural. It was somebody had just painted an entire wall pink, and then in black letters they had written something that was the reverse of what you normally see. You normally hear people say, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, it's like, give me proof, right? When I see things, then I'll believe it. But this mural said, I'll see it when I believe it. And this is, ultimately the paradox. See, we can come to Christ with very good reasons to believe. We can look at the historical record. Clearly, this man lived in first century Palestine. We can trace, his family members, different people, the record of his execution, all of this. The fact that his followers went to the ends of the earth after his execution, clearly they were there, and they gave their lives up for this man. We could say that. But it's another thing entirely to go to our icon corners or to sit in silence, to make the sign of the cross, and to speak to that Jesus, to call out to that Jesus, to live our lives in function of and in service of that Jesus, even in and especially in the midst of hardship and disappointment. When we do that, when we take that step of faith, then we come and see. And we know that he is there. And we know that we are not alone in the difficulties. And so I would challenge you on this St. Andrew's Day to ask St. Andrew for his intercessions, and also for the Holy Mother of God and all the saints, but to call out to Christ, to find Christ in your struggle, and to come and see that he is there. God bless you, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.